Welcome back to our Friday evening of highlighting of owning your life. The past couple of sessions had to be postponed because of the current season that we are in. The guest I had scheduled at that time had a lot of stuff going on, with hearing of passings of loved ones, and so they asked me if that they could reschedule. So they'll be rescheduled at a later date. But thankfully, this today we could go forward with the highlighting of your own of owning your life. So today we have a special guest. Her name is Nadine. And before I move further, I I am Noreen N. Henry, and as you know, I say all the time, I like to use my middle initial because it differentiates me. So I am your Victorious Living expert, the founder of a Victorious Living Culture, where it is a Victorious Living movement. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Nadine to you. And I, how I know Nadine is we're actually related. We're actually cousins. So yeah, we got family in the house tonight. No matter who it is, we are all to be owning our lives, our family, our friends, even people we don't know, need to be owning their lives. So it's an honor to bring Nadine on tonight to talk about how she is owning her life. So let me give you her bio. Let me read her bio. So Nadine Fortune has served as a registered nurse for over 25 years. And we got to commend her for that because nurses, with the current season that we're in, we have to commend the nurses, all the medical staff that just happen to be that Nadine is a nurse. So since graduating from Temple University with a Bachelor's of Science degree in nursing in 1994, ooh, she's dating herself. Um, Nadine Nadine has served in numerous nursing specialties, including nurse educator, medical surgical, oncology, endocrinology, she's making me say these big words, nurse counseling and hospice, end of life care, including infants that are receiving hospice care. You've got to have strength to be doing this because I couldn't do it.
Mm.
Nadine's virtual counseling practice, Fortunate Awakening, focuses on helping individuals to wake up to their truth and enjoy the wonderful gift of life. That is Nadine's short bio, because really it's longer. So, welcome, Nadine. Thank you for coming on, agreeing to come on to the highlighting of owning your life.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I too want to just tell everyone this is something we're going through with the coronavirus and the quarantine. It's something that we've never experienced, but that it's going to be okay. Focus on all of the positive things, and we'll be able to move forward and make it through this.
Thank you for that. Because that's so needed, because I hear it all the time, the fear in
Mhm.
people, and so it's comforting to know that we will be okay once we follow the guidelines and use wisdom, because really we need to use wisdom. We will be fine. We will overcome. So, without further ado, let me start asking you some.
Mhm.
So, were you always on in your life, or if not, what made you realize you weren't on in your life?
No, I was not always owning my life. And I have to say, for most of the time that I wasn't owning it, I didn't even know that I wasn't owning it. I love the way you phrase that, own your life. The way I came to the realization that I wasn't owning my life was when I really started to examine how I was expressing myself spiritually, how I was connecting to God, and worshiping and learning and growing in a spiritual way. So I was looking at it as I was having an awakening, which is why I named my practice Fortunate Awakening, because I felt like I was just going through whatever was instructed of me of this is the way you connect with God spiritually instead of owning what was inside of me.
So with that, you're talking about the spiritual side. So
Mhm.
you weren't owning, because that's a big part, right? The spiritual side plays a big part, even though we don't see the spiritual side, but the spiritual side is there. So that plays a big part. So you weren't focusing on owning your life in that way, but you were focusing on owning in other ways, like with going to school and like talk about some of those things and owning in that way too, because there's two aspects to it.
Mhm. And so the religion that I was in had a lot of strict rules on how you could live your life, not only connecting with God, but even in the physical. Um, and a part of that did not involve me going to college to be a nurse.
Oh
God
wow.
put, yeah, it was recommended that you go into full time ministry, going around and preaching the doctrines of that religion. And full time meaning, I think that was like, it was many hours per week. Like there was no way I could have done that in addition to going to college. But my reality of what God put in me was since I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a nurse. So there was a huge conflict with me even following my career choice that God put in me with this religion. So it was, I feel like I know they're two separate things, but they were
Right,
intertwined. They were intertwined. We can't separate the physical, the spiritual. It's all connected.
right.
It's all
But
connected. So mhm,
that's interesting though. So you were being guided to do something else, but you
yes.
still took control of your own life by, so
Mhm,
what did you do? You went on to go to nursing school and didn't
yes.
do what they were told? Like how did that play out?
Yeah. So it was difficult.
Interesting.
It took a lot of courage that I did not know that I had. My mother was a part of the religion as well. I joined the religion when I was 7 years old. That's when my mother joined it. She was looking for a way to connect with
Hmm.
God. She thought that there was a right way, a
Right,
true
right,
way of connecting with God, which
right.
I now God has shown me that there's many ways to correct with God. We're all individuals. So when I initially, my mother knew that I wanted to be a nurse.
Hmm.
She knew that I did not want to go in the full-time ministry. So she supported me in that decision. So there was a lot of negative feedback from my congregation regarding that decision. But I feel like there
Interesting.
are people that are meant to go out and serve
Hmm.
as far as doing Bible studies, but that
Right.
wasn't the calling that God put in my heart. So that was the first thing I did of owning my life was where I said, no, I will postpone that full time giving Bible studies.
Hmm.
But what about all? Because I even reasoned with the elders in my congregation that I had to talk to about why I wasn't going into full time. So I reasoned with
That's
them.
deep.
I can maybe talk to people while I'm nursing them.
Right,
I said I'll
right.
be able to talk to them. People need honest, loving, spiritually aware people to care for them when they're sick, when they're
Right,
physically sick.
right.
They need loving people.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
was first. Uh, and then moving on into my career and allowing my social circle to broaden, meaning I got to meet people every day when
Hmm.
I was working in hospitals, working in the
Yeah,
community
yeah.
that were not in religion. So then I woke up even more because
Right.
I started to see that these people had their own truth and it still had love within it.
But see, because I'm just shocked. I'm shocked with how religion was trying to control you. But I'm just shocked on that. But I commend you too because you had the courage
Mhm.
to do what you wanted to do, not what they wanted you to do. So that's very courageous because I'm sure many others would go along with what, because it's coming from a religious figure.
Yes,
You can
yes.
like thinking, oh, they must be right, so let me do what it is they're telling me to do. So that's very courageous of you, and you were so young too with that. right? Because that was before you went to college.
When I entered college, I started Temple University when I was 17 years old. So, and you're right. There are millions of people that are a part of this religion, and they reach out to me through my practice. And some have left, and it's still an adjusting period not being in the
Hmm.
religion
Hmm.
anymore. And then there are some that are afraid to leave. So that is the counseling that I offer, that I was in that religion for
Right, right.
20 years, and now I have been out for 20 years. And
2020.
the awakening has been a gift. It has truly helped me to express my spirituality, my connection, the way God wants me to serve
Right,
mankind and
right.
find joy.
Wow. Sorry, I've just got stuck on that. So, like, wow.
It's not, and I'll tell you, I was in one religion, but there are many religions,
Yeah.
large worldwide religions
Yeah.
that are still enslaving people mentally and spiritually,
Hmm. Hmm.
and people are trying to find their way out.
Right. So
Mhm.
help is needed. So you owned your life in that, and so now, because whatever the enemy means for harm, God turns it around and uses it for good. So now you owned your life in that. So now you're helping others to own theirs in life, because we are all individually to own
Yeah.
our lives. Right? It's an individual thing. But like you said, I like the word you use, awakening. So
Yeah.
awakening and analyzing. So these are things that we have to do that help us to
Mhm.
own our lives.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so, so,
Mhm.
so what steps did you do to change that though? Like you were saying you was analyzing. We touched on that already, actually. You're saying you were analyzing, and then
Yeah.
speaking to the elders. So those are the steps that you really took in that. And
Yes. And further me was all along, when I finally left the religion, I was 27 years old. So all before then, I feel like I had from 17 to 27. That is years where I was an adult. I joined the religion when I was 7. That's such a young age. You can't do
yes,
too much
yeah,
critical
yeah.
thinking. But between 17 and 27,
Mm.
I was in college, an adult. I couldn't see what I was a part of. The older I got, the
Yeah,
more
yeah,
exposure I got to other people. So there was always people of other beliefs that God would send to reach out to me and say little things to me.
yeah.
Even
Uh,
you would say things to me, but I couldn't receive it.
right.
It wasn't fertile soil. So
Because of what you came from.
the
That's deep.
seed, the seed would die, because there was no fertile soil. I couldn't objectively receive what people were saying to me to try to help me. So once I started
Mm-mm.
objectively listening to what people were saying to me, objectively looking at other religions and seeing this, what I've learned is not my truth. There may be
Right,
some people that are in that religion that they are happy and they feel fulfilled, right? But it wasn't what God put inside of me. And that was the problem. That is where you're dying a spiritual death,
right, right.
because you're not being your authentic self.
That is deep,
So
so deep.
I started actually having conversations, because before all those years,
Yeah.
it wasn't a conversation. People would be talking to me. I'm being honest. People would be talking to me, and the entire time that they would be talking to me, I would be picking apart everything they said about how it was wrong and it didn't line up with my religion. So I
Wow. That's a
so I
biggie.
so I stopped doing that, and I truly was analyzing what they were saying to me. I started looking at how they were living their lives.
Right,
Look at
right.
how their marriage looks. That looks like a beautiful marriage. That person is a wonderful mother. Whether they were Catholic,
Wow.
Baptist, Muslim, I was like, okay, wait a minute, why? And I have to look and start experimenting with the things that I have been suppressing for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had an affinity for angels, as you can see. I love angels. I love candles. The religion I was in, that was
So
all
that,
linked to demonic activity. So I
right.
would suppress that. I would never have, I love to read. Now what I do, I have my little angels. I light a candle that smells wonderful,
Mm-hmm.
lavender,
Mm-hmm.
and read. And it's
Mm-hmm.
such, and then I pray and meditate. It's such a connection with God. Within that religion, I was filled with fear
So
of doing that.
you were really stuck
I
and in
was
bondage.
I was afraid
So
and I was in mental bondage.
so it's huge. It's huge that you are owning your life. It's that's huge. It's a biggie. That's a
Yeah.
biggie. And
And I
I need that
have
to sit with
I
people
have
that
to
are
read.
listening because a
Mhm,
lot of times we are stuck, and it's not just religion, it could be anything. Because I can say there was a point that I was stuck where I was in bondage, and it wasn't
mhm,
until I was out of it that I realized that I was in bondage. So
mhm,
for those listening out there, we need to analyze our lives to realize, are we really owning our lives?
mhm,
Are we
mhm,
truly owning our lives?
mhm. I
I mean,
agree, Maureen. I agree with what you said that it's not only religion, it is um, what your vision of what a happy family is,
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm,
know, your vision of what a career is, your vision of what wealth means, all of those things. We kind of, most people follow along with the example they were raised with or what they saw
right.
when they're having a burning feeling inside that they don't know how to express that or
Right,
investigate.
right, right, right. And that's and what helps a lot is like with me was reading. Like reading was because I'm an avid reader, so reading was what opened up my mind to a lot of different things, and then you end up thinking differently.
Yeah.
You you're not the norm as you were, right? So because everybody's norm is different. So let's go on to the next question. So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to own their life? Who wants to own their life, but they don't know where to start.
Hmm. Hmm. I would say start off by truly listening to what you feel resonates with you. If you hear something, or you, for me, it was where I would see these beautiful candles and see these beautiful angels, something that simple. And I would want to bring that into my spiritual worship. But for years, I would be in the mall, past the candle store, like longingly want to go in
Ah,
there. But I would
wow.
keep pushing it away because I associated that with evil, that
Right.
was not pure worship. So I would say start listening to the
Mm-hmm.
inclinations that God has put inside of you because
Mm-hmm.
we all have that knowledge inside of us. So like you said, you like to read. So what I did was I did get books and just research how candles were used maybe in ancient Rome.
Mm, good.
And,
That's good.
and I even looked at how candles were used in witchcraft. And I
Right.
said, you know what?
Mhm.
Whatever the witchcraft, I'm not going to judge them, but that's how they're using it. I'm using it for good.
Right.
I'm using
Right.
it
Right.
because that is what God has put in me, that a way
Mm-hmm.
for me to connect.
Right.
So once I started using them, and it took courage for me to say, to pray and meditate, and then to feel like, wow, this is not bad. Or that we could have a Christmas tree and we were not worshiping some ancient false god. Or that I could give my children an Easter basket and I wasn't worshiping the fertility god. It was just a nice craft to do with my kids. That's it. So I would say just
Deep.
listen to yourself, listen to what God has put in you. Um, and go for it, and keep it simple because I feel like
Mm-hmm. I like that.
my religion that I was in made everything so complicated, so many rules, so many absolutes. And when Christ was walking this earth and he was asked, what's the most important rule? There's so many books and books of rules at the synagogue. Which one do we follow, Christ? He said, love, love your heavenly Father and love your neighbor and treat
Mhm.
them the way you want to be treated. He could have ran down books and books. He kept it that simple. So if it's good for
It is
for me.
quite simple. Because religion really is a set of rules. So that's why I don't like if people will ask me what's my religion, I say
Mhm.
I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. I don't belong to a religion because religion that's where all that confusion is because you can't wear this, you can't wear makeup, you can't do this, you've got like wear these long you have to wear dresses down to your ankles and
Yes.
no, that's religion. I'm not religious. I'm not knocking anybody, but I'm not religious. I'm
Right.
spiritual.
And that's so true. Like on Tuesday, you might want to wear a skirt that comes down to your ankle,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
but my choice.
on Wednesday, God might say, put those red slacks on, girl. Like, why, why can't you just live in the spirit, right?
And that's bondage.
Yeah.
That's bondage. It's because we're not we're supposed to be free. We're not supposed to be in bondage like that. So if you have to
Mhm.
think, oh wait, I can't wear this because of no, if I can't wear this because my religion says this. No, it's really bondage. That's why I'm not religious. I'm not knocking anybody, but I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. So
Yes.
and I own that.
Yay. You're free.
I'm
You
free.
are free.
I'm free.
Mhm.
So is owning your life, in your opinion, is it a one-time thing or do you have to keep working at it?
Oh my goodness. Every, and I will say it is something you have to continually work on, especially when you were in spiritual bondage for so long.
Hmm.
Those things, those practices, and that will slip back in.
Right,
So I
right.
want to, I have to set my mind, focus on living every decision, every word I say,
Hmm.
every action, because I'll revert back to
Right.
being judgmental, to
Mm.
I'll revert because that was such a big part of that religion. We were very judgmental of everyone else because we had the absolute truth. So that is something
So
where
they
I
say.
had to apologize. Mhm.
Mm.
I had to apologize to people. Once I had my awakening, I was like, "Oh, that was
Right.
ugly. I'm gonna have. I want to salvage this relationship, and I would
Right.
have to apologize to people. And even now, I focus, and when I slip up, because we're not
Hmm.
perfect, I
That's
have
right.
to immediately apologize. There's no
Right.
excuse because we
Right.
all have
Right.
a choice. Now that I am awake, I have the choice.
Hmm.
So I
Right.
am responsible for how I think and how I behave. So it's ongoing, but it's worth it. It
Right.
is
Right.
worth
Right.
it.
Then I have to commend you again for that because there's many people. You are truly owning your life in all ways, right? With, from your spiritual all the way down to your job, with how you handle your life. You are you are totally owning your life, and that's a good thing because you're looking within and you know something is wrong and you will do something about it. You just don't say, "Oh, it's your fault," or blame somebody else because I find many times that's what people will do. They don't take ownership of their lives, and it's so important that we do because it's so freeing.
Mhm.
It's so freeing, like, and we're going back and apologizing. That's
Yes.
all. That's so awesome. That's not
Yeah.
really
Well,
heard of.
what made me do that was a part of the religion was shunning people that did not
Mhm.
follow all of the recommendations. And that once I got old enough to really understand the shunning, when I was about 19, there was a young woman, a young girl, 16, that had a baby. We had to shun her. So
Oh
she
wow!
come to the services, sit there with this beautiful little boy, and nobody sat around her. We all
Oh,
shunned her.
ooh, that gave me chills. Ooh.
So once I had my and that was that alone was me not owning my own life, because just sitting in that temple, that hall with her and watching her there alone. Who doesn't want to go sit with a new mom? Who doesn't want to
Right,
go hold the baby? It
right,
was so
right.
against everything that was in me
Right.
morally.
Oh my
And
gosh.
how could that, the mental distress that that put on that new 16-year-old mom,
Right.
we
Right.
need
Because
we
we,
need to surround her and support her.
right, where's the love?
Yes. So
Where's
that
the
is
love?
where,
We're to be walking in love.
yes, I had to uh, own my part in that shunning because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't follow what God put in my heart, which was
Right.
to go over and love on her.
Right.
And I had to own that and apologize.
That, oh wow, that's awesome.
Mhm.
That is so awesome. That, oh my gosh, this is so deep tonight. It's like that gave me chills because 16-year-old, because we perish for lack of knowledge, right? Because that's what the word
Yes.
says, and we really do perish for lack of knowledge. So, you know,
Mhm.
for a 16-year-old to having a baby and there's no support, like
No,
what can you imagine will happen to
no,
her if she's not
no,
strong? What will happen to her mind?
exactly.
Because that's
That
where
is,
everything starts in the mind. Oh my
yeah.
God.
And
I'm
how
so
that
happy
will
that
that child affect this child as well. The religion um is about control. The
right.
more research that I've done, the more things that have been brought out, it is truly a business of control by a few men, not even many, and millions of people
Wow.
have been fooled by this
Hmm.
religion. So
Right. Right.
that's why how I started speaking out was I had the pleasure of working with a nurse 10 years younger than me, maybe more. And she was kicked out of the religion and was being shunned. And the reason she finally left was because she was now a mother of 3 children and didn't want the cycle to go. She wanted her children to be free. She didn't have the strength to free herself
Mm-hmm.
until she
Until she
saw how it
right. Right.
her
Right.
children,
Right.
and that's what gave her the courage to leave.
Wow. Well, we're coming up closer to the ending of the show, but I wanted to ask you, what are some of the things you're up to in the world? This is very deep. I think we're gonna have to do a part two
Yes,
of this. This is very deep. What are some of the things that you're up to
yes,
in the world?
yes. So everyone can't afford private counseling. So I have started a YouTube channel, and it's called Fortunate Awakening, because we are all fortunate. We're all on our road to awakening to our own life. So I put up YouTube videos that is about when you are leaving such a controlling religion that tries to control your spirituality. And those videos they're basically my experiences over
Mm-hmm.
the past 40 years, the 20 that I was in the religion, the 20 that
Mm-hmm.
I'm out, and just strategies that people can use to help reset their
Mm-hmm.
mindset
Mm-hmm.
and
That's awesome.
embrace this gift of life. So that's the YouTube channel is Fortunate Awakening. And then I also can be emailed for private consultations, and that's at fortunateawakening@gmail.com.
Awesome. Awesome. That saved me from asking how can someone connect with you. But
Yes.
what are some encouraging words that you can leave with the viewers?
Mhm. That no matter how long you have been not owning your own life, not awake, start today. It's never too late. There are people that I have counseled that left this religion that I was in, didn't start waking up until they were in their 70s.
Wow.
As long, a part of what working as a hospice nurse has taught me is as long as you have breath in your
Yeah.
body,
Hmm.
you can make a change. You can enjoy this last, whatever, how many years
Right.
of life you have left. Start the journey now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you don't
Yeah.
have to do it alone. What a part of what like this technology and social
Hmm.
media,
Hmm.
you can easily connect with people
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
on the same path as you.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Right. I like that too, that you're not alone because that's what people will think, right? Because technically that's what the enemy wants us to think, that we're on our own, but we're not. Because I
Nope.
remember, just quickly, I remember when I was going through stuff like years ago, I'm thinking I'm on my own, but then, coming out of it and talking to different people,
Mm-hmm.
so many people go through similar things. So you are never alone, and there is always help, and that's why coaches are important.
Yes.
Coaches are important. So
Mm-hmm.
you've already said how you can, the viewers can connect with you. So
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for coming on. Thank you for being a guest of highlighting of owning your own life. And we're gonna have to do this again because this it is, oh my gosh, I had goosebumps
Thank you.
listening to you. 'Cause you're a strong person because I don't, with some of the things we all have different stories, right? We all
Yes.
have,
But we're all strong.
we
But
all right, and
we don't embrace our strength. We don't, because we're not being ourselves, we feel so weak. But everyone is in, you're here for a reason
yeah.
to embrace and enjoy your life. All
Yep,
of us.
yep, yep, yep. I believe that. I believe everybody's here. Everybody's got a gift. Everybody's gift is different. But
Mhm.
thank you again for coming on. And and anybody watching, if you're interested in being highlighted, reach out to me, and you can message me and let me know, and we will schedule a date. So until the next time, thank you again, Nadine, and good night, everybody. And for those on the replay, you can ask questions. Let me know as well. Okay. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are welcome. You are welcome.